Representative.
Thank you very much, Chairs France, Hartley, and Simmons, Ranking Member Iaccarino, and Vice Chair Reyes, and the rest of the committee members. Thank you very much for holding this public hearing and allowing me to testify on proposed House Bill 6756, an act directing a portion of hotel tax and revenue to tourism districts. And I know this is a story you've heard many, many times, and I do appreciate the opportunity to testify before you on this. This past summer, as part of the Tourism Caucus, we held meetings around the state to talk to people about how the funding was swept from the tourism districts and their ability to maintain, because it's such a vital part of our economy. And so Senator Formica, Representative Rose, and I were at the Beardsley Zoo. And there, I would say there were probably at least 50 people there testifying on behalf of what they do for the state of Connecticut and how not having any type of funding was really detrimental to them. And every time they talked about the little bit of funding that they did get and how they used it and multiplied it, expanded it at least 3 times. In some industries, it's 6 or 7 times, but overall, we'll use the 3-for-1 ratio. And as part of my testimony, when I was doing some research, I had found a report that Connecticut had obtained from Lockwood International, and it's attached to my electronic testimony. And I gave Representative Iaccarino a sheet which had the chart on it, which told you in 2012 and has propelled forward what the return on investment is for every dollar spent in tourism and how it gets back into the Connecticut economy. I won't take a lot of your time, as I know that you have a very busy agenda and a lot of people to speak. But I think when Governor Malloy originally raised the hotel tax to 15% with the idea that that 3% increase would go to fund these districts is the way we should go. And I'm hopeful that that this committee will vote this bill or something very similar out of committee and let the folks on appropriations figure out if we can afford it and move it forward so we can actually fund these tourism districts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, tourism is a huge part of the economy here in Connecticut, and we have to do everything we can to support it, obviously, within our means. Any questions or comments from committee members? Representative Iaccarino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Hoydick, for being here, and Senator Formica for your work. I think we all feel the same way. It's vitally important to enhance our tourism. For me, I was out Sunday. It was a beautiful day, and I went down to the beach in West Haven, and there's restaurants, and it was very vibrant. But we have a great state visibly and physically as far as place to go. So it's incumbent on us and hopefully the governor to embrace this proposal. And I just want to thank you for your work. And we have a great state, and I just wanted to compliment you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. In my testimony, which I didn't read, we talked about the diversity of this state and its beauty and how we've invested, whether it's a wine trail, a beer trail, the ocean. We just have a lot of great things here, so we should take advantage of it and let the tourism districts be our sales force for us.
Terrific. Anybody else? Senator, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, and thank you. There's been some talk about different models with regard to moving tourism forward since funding is so difficult. And the tourism districts really represent the boots on the ground. People in each of the 3 districts now, used to be, I think, 9. But it is a statewide effort, and it handles all 4 corners of our state. And I think they're all represented on the Tourism Caucus that both you and I sit on. So there were a lot of people out there at Beardsley Zoo, and we have to continue to support not only tourism, but these districts and also arts, because that's what brings people here. So I don't know if you can touch about moving forward with the districts and how you see that happening.
Thank you, Senator, for number 1, co-chairing the Tourism Caucus and bringing it back to life again, because it was kind of languishing a little bit, and we really need the leadership from the General Assembly to start the dialogue again. I think the tourism districts themselves are in a little bit of a state of flux, because I mean, how do you do something when you're funded with $0? But I do think that even keeping the 3 districts that we have, or adopting part of what Senator Ryan has proposed. I think it's a good model. I think the point of this is there was a reason the hotel tax was raised by an additional 3%. And even if we're not going to fund it by 3%, give the districts something. Culture, arts, tourism, it goes hand in hand. And they are our best sales force as the people who are trying to get more folks into Connecticut to eat at their restaurants or go to their stores or go to their activities, historic, arts, whatever. I think under the tourism caucus, you can probably pull the group together. I know that the folks that we met with, especially from your neck of the woods, had some very definitive ideas. The folks in Litchfield County did as well. So I am not sold on one way or another. Just the most important thing is everybody to work together to make Connecticut more profitable and more of a destination.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Formica. Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Representative Hampton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Representative. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good, thanks for being here. Are there any restrictions or requirements once the money is allocated to the districts on how they use it?
In our proposed bill, no. And Senator Formica is a co-introducer of the bill. And we really did this, Senator Hampton, because of the amount of outpouring and compelling arguments that were made when we met with folks on the ground. So at this point, no, especially if, that's why it's, as a committee, you probably know more about this, about the policy piece of this than I do, but it's really to get the funds redirected so it can go to the tourism districts.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Anybody else? Terrific. Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you very
testimony.
much.
We appreciate it very much. Tim Sullivan is up next, followed by Representative McGee, and then Senator Fasano.